Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Jailhouse Informant. You're locked in for the next hour with myself and my co-hosts, Dr. Christie Sumner and Sally the Jail Cat.
Hey, everybody. In case you missed last week, this is Sally. She's our little jail cat. We did have a little contest to name her, and Sally is the name that was chosen. So she's here. She's safe. She's in the jail. She was a stray that came in about 2 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, and she just decided to make herself at home. So now she loves it here in the jail. So we thought we'd just let her say hey to everybody tonight, start our podcast.
Yeah, she actually helps lead the tours here. She really likes people. And so when people come in during the day, she likes to go along, at least here on the first floor. And then whenever we do the flashlight tours and the paranormal investigations, when we're orienting the teams, she likes to go along and lead with that as well. So she's great. Come on out here to the jail and meet Sally, but make sure you bring some treats because she is kind of a little diva. So.
Yeah, she is just a little bit.
But yeah, so it's I'm telling you, it has been a busy weekend here already. And we had our first birthday party here at the jail today. We had
nine 8-year-olds.
Nine 8-year-olds and a bunch of parents as well. Came out, celebrated the birthday, rented the jail for 2 hours and had a big party. Maybe posting some pictures about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So just another, again, happy birthday to Colin. Thank you for spending your birthday with us here at the jail. We had a lot of fun. But I think we definitely enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun and something different, so something kind of different and unique. If you have a birthday party, anniversary, divorce party,
bachelorette parties.
Yeah, reach out to us. We actually have a lot of birthday parties here, actually, but not the kind you would think. A lot of people like to spend their birthdays going on one of our guided ghost hunts. I think pretty much out of the 12 guided ghost hunts that we've done, every one of them, except for one, has been a birthday. I think
either on the birthday or just around the birthday.
Yeah. So just a different creative idea that you can do. And if you are interested, you can either reach out to the phone number that's scrolling across the bottom of the screen or onto the website, and we can customize a gathering for you.
Yeah, we had a great team last night. Matthew and Cheyenne from SHIS Paranormal were here.
Yeah, out of Lima, Ohio. They drove all the way down, had a really good investigation, went back. So I hope those guys made it safely back last night. I'm telling you, it was a crazy experience. It was very active. So we were orienting the team as they came in. And, what we always do before the investigation starts is we give them a brief history and hotspots tour. And so while we were up on the third floor standing there, and if you've been in the jail, the way it's kind of set up is we've got our cell blocks up there, and then the jailer's walk that encircles the jail, the third floor. As we're sitting there giving the tour, some of the craziest footsteps I have ever heard here. We actually heard them, and they went on for a couple seconds, enough time for them to walk an entire bullpen there in the cell. And what was crazy about it is we just mopped because we were getting ready for today's party. And right after we mopped, it had that sticky floor sound.
Crazy.
So that really, that was pretty wild. And we all heard it. And, it kind of set the tone for an interesting night. It seemed kind of like last night they had sort of a couple games of cat and mouse going on. Every time they would go to a different floor, they would hear something knock and bang on the floor above it or below. So,
yeah, a lot of activity here recently. So I'm glad they got to experience that. And, anybody who comes out to the jail has some sort of experience. Most of the paranormal investigators that have come out here, for the most part, have left with some sort of experience. That's why I'm excited to talk about our guest tonight and talk with him and about what he experienced here when his team came. But a couple of other things, a couple of housekeeping things that we're going to talk about. We have a very important event coming up on Saturday. It's the second annual Harold Young Memorial Scholarship Dart Run. So even if you don't ride a motorcycle, come on out and support this really cool cause. It's a lot of fun. You get to throw darts, get to meet some new people, but we'll be, that's here on our website. So all the information is there. And I think you've got a video that queued up that kind of shows what it looks like.
Yeah, we'll get to that here in just a few minutes. But just want to let you know. So on our events page here on the website, we do have the information on the Harold Young Dart Run. We've kind of got things broken down. We've got some motorcycle events. We've also got our after dark events. We've literally got a bunch of flashlight tours up here for you to choose from for the remainder of the month. We're pretty much packed out on paranormal investigations. I think we have a couple Fridays open, maybe a Sunday night before the end of the month. But we've got a lot of flashlight tours to choose from. A couple of these flashlight tours, we've actually got 2 a night scheduled. Mm-hmm. So if you want to book, we take bookings on those days up until 4 p.m. And then, we kind of, because we have to plan and get things ready for the evening, we cut off ticket sales at 4, so you can't buy tickets at the door. Yep. But so we have those on there. And then as Christy mentioned, we do have the dart run. And we had a couple questions about what a dart run is. Mm-hmm. So we're going to show you in the video, but essentially a dart run it's not a very common thing, but it is essentially a game of skill. And so it's kind of like a poker run, but a little bit different. We have 3 stops. You stop at each one of those stops, play a hand of darts, and then the person with the highest score of those 3 games ends up winning the dart run. And I think this year, Mashed Thumb, they've actually made a trophy that they're going to be given to the winner. So the very first stop is here at the historic Scott County Jail. And we've got the others listed, but that will take place at 10 a.m. We're closing the street down. You're going to be able to come here, play a hand of darts, and then you will go to the second stop and the third stop. This year, something that's really cool is we actually have the winner of this year's scholarship. We're going to be presenting her with the $1,000 scholarship at 1:30, which will be at the final stop, which will be the Widow's Sons Masonic Lodge in Robbins.
Mm-hmm. So, and just to be clear, this isn't a ride. This isn't a motorcycle ride. This is an event. There will be a lot of motorcyclists attending, but you can ride any vehicle that you're in. Just come on out, play your hand of darts here, and then go to the other stops. And it's just a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. So hopefully you'll join us next Saturday.
Yeah, it is $20 per person. And that money does go to create a scholarship for a student who is majoring in the field of science. The scholarship is named after my dad, who was a 39-year science teacher at Scott High School and Wartburg School. So, he spent 30 of those years at Scott High. And so the scholarship does go to a student who is pursuing a career in the field of science. So we're hoping to give even more next year. This year we were blessed to be able to give $1,000 scholarship. So mm-hmm. I'm actually just going to pull up a video that shows what, kind of went on last year to kind of get things geared up. You're going to be seeing things posted all week long about stuff that's going on with that. But let me go ahead and get that. Let's see here.
Very cool.
All right. Yeah. So like I said, we're partnering with the Widow Sons Masonic Writers Association, which is the lodge out of Robbins. Also, Mash Thumb, Fat Baby Meats will be there with food, Dilligaf Motorcycle Shop, and Ghost Biker Exploration. So thank you to all of our sponsors this year, and can't wait to see everyone here next Saturday at 10 a.m.
Yep. So if you didn't know, today actually starts off National Police Memorial Week. So this week we will be highlighting different officers, especially here in Scott County, who have died in the line of duty. So that's just kind of fitting that today's guest is from RKB Paranormal, and we're going to let him explain kind of how that ties in with his team and how that came to be. So let's welcome Damian Christie.
Hey,
Hello.
Damian.
Hey.
Hi, how are y'all?
Great. How are you doing?
Good. How are doing? Pretty good.
Yeah, we're so excited to be able to get you to come on because, you know, if somebody comes to the jail, they usually hear one of the stories about when you investigated here.
Mm-hmm.
It was a wild night.
So before we kind of get into that, why don't you explain a little bit about who RKB Paranormal is and kind of how y'all started and what you're doing?
Back when we were teenagers, my best friend Josh, he's my co-founder, and our other best friend Keith, growing up, we was always real into the paranormal, and it was just something we were always just kind of fascinated by. And on the weekend, instead of being out partying, we'd be in the middle of the cemetery at 3:00 in the morning, you know, trying to investigate and find whatever we could. So, and starting an actual team was something we always talked about, and just something we always kind of dreamed about, and didn't never know if it would ever actually happen or not. Back in 2011, actually it would be 11 years next month. Keith, he was a police officer in our hometown of Dixon. He was shot and killed in the line of duty, and
definitely tough.
And so the dream of you know, starting a team kind of vanished for a little bit. We kind of just put it on the back burner and everything. And back in 2020, I went out to Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary, just kind of did the daytime thing. And I told Josh about it. I was like, man, let's go back out there. Me and him went back out about a week later, did the daytime thing again. And on the way back home, we was like, man, we need to go through here at night, do the investigation thing, just to test it out. And we gathered up some friends. About a week later, we rolled through there at night, and didn't have any kind of equipment. We had one voice recorder and I think an EMF detector, but we had so much stuff happening, you know, left and right. We was hearing doors slamming, people screaming. We had something thrown at us. It was just a wild night. And on the way back home that morning, I was like, man, we need to start our team. We've been talking about this for years. And he was like, I agree. He's like, yeah, we're not getting any younger. And so I told him the name I had in mind, which was RKB Paranormal, which is Keith's initials. And he was like, man, I love that idea. So we named it after him to kind of memorialize him in a way and still have him with us on our investigations. And so I contacted my tattoo guy the next morning. He designed our logo. I had a Facebook up the next morning, and we were up and running the next day.
Oh, that's fantastic. And that is a really cool way to memorialize him and kind of what y'all had envisioned together. I think that's a really cool memorial and testament for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. There's your logo. Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, your artist did real good job on that.
Mm-hmm.
He did. I didn't even really tell him anything I had in mind, and he put the blue in there, like, you know, kind of reminded me of the thin blue line, and it just kind of worked out perfect. And I didn't even really tell him anything about what I wanted. I just said, this is what it's named, design it for me.
Mm-hmm.
So
very cool. And you were actually gracious enough to donate one of Keith's hats here to the historic Scott County Jail. So that's actually in our law enforcement appreciation and memorial room. So thank you for that.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. I'm glad you guys got to display it. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about your investigation here when you came to the jail. So quite a few things. So if you want to tell everybody, it was just the two of you.
It was just me and Josh. Our wives weren't able to make it that night. They're the other members on our team, and we have another good friend of ours, Mark. He's part of the team. But it was just me and him that night. And I remember just starting, we were just sitting in the setup room talking to you, Chris, and I heard a woman talking from the hallway, and I thought Miranda had just got there, and I looked around and there's nobody there. And I'm like, man, we hadn't even got started yet. And I remember going through just feeling all this different stuff. And I was like, man, I think it's going to be a good night. And so when we got started, we were having stuff happening practically nonstop, but it always would seem to happen right after we stopped filming to get ready to change spots, or right before we started filming when we got in there. So they were kind of toying with us, and we were kind of getting frustrated. And I was like, man, all this stuff's happening to us, but we have no proof of any of it, And I remember at one point, y'all let us use your EDI box. Mm-hmm. And I remember he said, because Josh is a corrections officer, so he had his handcuffs with him, and he sat him down in front of the EDI, and he remembers the temperature it was reading whenever he set it up. It was like 67.5 or something. He remembers we looked over a few minutes later when he put the handcuffs down, and it was at 66.6. I was like, that's really weird. And I remember it stayed like that until he moved the handcuffs. And I was like, well, let me go down here and just see if this thing's malfunctioning or something. And I remember asking you guys about it. And you was like, when did that happen? I was like, just right before I came down. And y'all had said y'all were looking up a story that you had just read on Facebook had to do with that number. And so then we get that number upstairs, and we just thought that was kind of a weird coincidence. And that was kind of the beginning of everything that was kind of happening that night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's what we always tell people, if you get something like that, I mean, it's easy to go to the obvious. Okay, mm-hmm. We got 66.6. Okay, mm-hmm. So negative, that sort of thing. And that's not always the case. Because I think with you all, you even got devil, and you were right under the Scott County devil sign that was up there. Was that you all?
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah, so
we always tell people, we're like, when you get something, just kind of really look around, because they like to talk about what's going on around you and mm-hmm. that sort of thing.
Yeah, it was, like I said, pretty much everything that we had happening, because y'all let us use your Ovilus too, because we had never experienced one of those. And 90% of the words that were spitting out, when we got to looking around or thinking about it, it was kind of lining up with something that was going on in the room, whether it was an article on the wall or something. I remember I don't remember what room it was in, but it spit out 8 or 9 words, and it was all those words were in that same article. And so Josh just started reading the entire article like it was telling us, hey, read this article to us. So it was pretty wild.
Yeah. And that's actually been something that's carried on with other investigators since that happened with you guys. In this one in particular, the Rhonda Byrd article is one that seems to do that a lot. Right. They'll read out the words before you even read the article.
Yeah, that's how it happened with us. He was just kind of walking around the room, and I started spitting out these words, and it kept saying read or news or something. He just walked over to one and just started kind of glancing through it, and he's like, man, all these words are in this article. So he just started reading it, and it was pretty neat.
Mm-hmm. And, like Miranda said, based on kind of what y'all found and how you did your investigation, we tell teams that come in about that, and they've subsequently have done the same experiments, and it's quite fascinating because they get similar results. Now, the video that we're going to share here in just a minute, I mean, that has not happened again, but that is one video that would completely highlight every time we have a ghost tour or a paranormal investigation team come in to say, listen, they're intelligent. The spirits here are intelligent. It's they know what you're doing, they know what you're reading, or they'll direct you to do something like read an article.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, and that help, we'll set the clip up here in a minute, but that help that you all got on the second floor, that's something that's very common that investigators get. We're not sure if it's something that's kind of a ruse to sort of bring you out into the middle of the room, or if, possibly, one of the victims is, kind of calling out to get your attention. But there's clearly a woman on the second floor that says help. I've heard it when I've been going up to unlock or, to clean up. I think you've heard it up there on the second floor. Other teams have heard it. It's pretty wild how that's become kind of a common occurrence there on the second floor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it is interesting because we had women inmates here, so we do think that is what we're hearing. But it's also fascinating because for two reasons. One, you guys are a group of two, so smaller groups seem to get some different responses here, as well as the fact that you have corrections experience or law enforcement experience. And so that was, again, a really fascinating kind of dynamic with you and your group. And I think that's why you were able to capture some of the things that you did.
Like I said, because he just kind of went through there and he was like, man, I'm just going to talk to him like I'm at work. And he wasn't really provoking. He was just kind of using that jail lingo, and it seemed to really kind of amp stuff up, kind of like, I guess, irritating them or something. Like, again, why is this guy in here talking this way? And it seemed to happen every floor. Like we was getting something when he started talking that way. Something would happen. So.
Yeah, you all were, so the night before you all were here, we had a group of straight law enforcement. I think there were 5 guys from law enforcement that was here. And that was our first actual full-scale law enforcement group. And so then when you guys came the next night and pulled on your corrections experience, it really just seemed like it just really kind of set things off. So it seems like when teams are here that either have a social services background or law enforcement or corrections, it always seems like that kind of changes the atmosphere, stirs them up just a little bit.
Right.
Yeah. All right. So we'll go ahead and set this clip up. I mean, if you want to go ahead and set it up, you can to kind of explain what we're going to see here.
Well, like I said, we had been through the entire jail, and so we decided to go ahead and wrap our night up in the kitchen. And we have the door closed and we're, saying all these questions. He's kind of doing his jail talk. And next thing you know, the REM pods are going off and the EDI's fluctuating. And I just happened to set my camera down because I wanted to take a picture of everything, kind of take a picture of the moment. And right when I set my camera down, I hear that woman say, "Help." We kind of look at each other and I was like, well, that came from the hallway. And so I just pick up my camera and walk over there, open the door, and get right in the doorway. I'm like, "Hello." And then what happens next? As you'll be able to tell from the video, my reaction is probably what made the video.
And it's crazy because I had my noise canceling headphones on, and when you came down and you're like, "Did you hear us?" And I was just like, "No, I didn't hear a thing," because you're like, "I think they heard us across the street." So.
Yeah. So in this video, we'll obviously highlight what you saw or what you filmed, but then we're going to slow it down and really isolate some of the different things that when you slow this video down, there's several things that happen here, which make it just a compelling video. So we'll let it play and then we'll come back on and discuss it.
I almost felt like I said help or something. Hello? What was that? The picture, dude. Are you serious? Not you. Oh my God, it swung it over here. Dude. Oh my God. Holy shit, dude.
Very cool.
I get chills every time I watch it.
Yeah, so do we. And like I said, everybody that we show that to is just fascinated by it. As Lisa said, holy cow, scary. Every time we watch it, like I said before we started it, there's just so many different things that happen in that essentially 20-second clip. So the first thing, you've got the EDI box of the red pod going off, which that in and of itself is pretty wild. But then if you just listen for that, the fact that it all stops right as soon as you turn and you're focusing on something else, those things stop. And then you see the shadow figure come down or come across, and then obviously when the picture goes, but that arm at the end is just something we have no explanation for.
And the light anomaly that comes down the same time as the shadow figure.
Yeah. So like I said, just if you take those in isolation and just really isolate them, it's pretty wild that you guys were able to capture all of that.
Yeah, whenever it happened, it happened so quick. Like my first initial thought was like, man, did we capture that? Because like it happened so quick, and you're just like, and I was like, we got to stop and check this right now. And we watched it 3 or 4 times before we came down and got Miranda, and she's like, what's going on? And I was like, watch this.
And then she called me at 3 o'clock in the morning. She said, I am coming over after I leave because you got to see this.
Yeah. And then just because I recorded it from your camera at that point, just to kind of, analyze it. And I was going frame by frame on my phone from your recording, which obviously you can possibly get pareidolia and stuff that way. But at that point, it's like, I think I see an arm. And when we saw the actual video of it, it's just like, oh my gosh, when you get so many things working together in one piece, it's just mind blowing.
Right. And we actually had another camera set up on a different table. And on that one, you actually hear the woman say, hell, but what was weird is I was recording the entire time. I set my camera down. It stopped recording for like those 2 or 3 seconds when that woman comes through. Then it just magically starts recording again. Wow. Like I'm thinking it's recording the whole time. And so luckily it started recording again. But from that other angle, you can hear the woman. And then when you see me walk to the hall, you can see Josh kind of messing with the REM pod, trying to get it to stop going crazy. And then right about the time I say hello is when that stops, and he's not messing with it anymore. He's going to stop messing with it because it won't stop going nuts. You hear me say hello, and like right then it stops, and then that thing goes flying through the air. And I want to say we still had about an hour and a half left of the night. And I was like, man, I think we just need to go ahead and wrap because I don't want to risk recording over this, accidentally deleting it. And we started getting tired, but then we were so amped up afterwards. We stopped and got gas, and I'm sitting there, he's filling up the tank, and I'm just watching this thing over and over again, sitting in the gas station parking lot. And I'm just like, what just happened? And I get home, 4 o'clock in the morning. I sleep maybe 2 hours. Like, I'm like, I've got to show my wife this. And so before I get it on the laptop, I was like, babe, look at this. And she like sees the arm almost immediately. And I was like, I'm not seeing that. I was like, what are you talking about? And then when you actually sent me the video, when you put it all together, I was like, holy crap. Because I didn't even really notice it on the laptop either, because I didn't have the ability to slow it down. And I was like, when you sent me a screenshot of it, I was like, holy crap, man. I was like, that is insane.
It's clear. And you can almost, of course it's real quick, but you can almost see what looks like the side of a face. Some people will see that where the arm comes out. And if you've not been to the jail and seeing what this looks like, that actually threw that picture 4.5 feet, which is wild.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was the, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was going to say, and that was actually the second time that night that same picture had fallen. And the first time it just kind of fell and just kind of slid down the wall. And I went and got Miranda. I was like, hey, it's just ever fallen? She's like, no, it hasn't fallen since we put it up. And I was like, maybe somebody came through during the day, was kind of messing with it, and it wasn't really stuck up there very good. But when we put it back up there and try to pull it off, it takes a little bit of force to get it off the wall.
Because it's Velcroed.
Yeah.
And then when and so when we put it back up there, we all made sure it was really on there. And then for that thing just to get slapped off the wall and do a flip in midair, I mean.
Yeah. I mean, we tried while you were here, and we tried to make it do that same thing. We were even kind of holding the side and trying to, force it down. We could not get it to flip. Every time it would slide straight down the wall.
Yep.
We never could get it to shoot. Even if you kind of forced the angle over, it wouldn't do it. I mean, we could not recreate it. Chris came in the next morning, and she's even just to see if there was any suction from the door, which there was no glass in the door, but we wanted to try everything to try to debunk, or come up with a logical explanation for it. We were never able to recreate it.
Right. And so when it fell the first time, we were in the cells next to the jail, and we actually captured the audio of it. So like I said, the entire night something was happening, but we didn't actually catch anything visually. It would either be something audible or it wouldn't happen when we were recording. And so, like I said, we were wrapping up, and he was like, you've been doing all this stuff all night. You need to show us something, prove to us you're actually here. And then they were like, oh, here you go.
Yeah. And like I said, each one of those things in isolation in and of itself is pretty compelling. But you put that whole clip together, and it really makes for something unexplainable. Because like Miranda said, we came back in the next morning and we were trying everything. I mean, to the point where we actually broke the darn thing.
Yeah.
We had to go to Hobby Lobby and get another frame. So we were trying everything to make sure that there was no way that it could be anything environmental, right? And it just, and to Miranda's point, it flew 4.5 feet. I mean, that takes some force behind it to get it to do that, because anything else that falls, it always goes straight down. It's pretty wild.
And I think what to me is really kind of fascinating is the fact that the timing of it, with because if this shadow entity didn't want to be seen. I mean, obviously he didn't have to do it when you stepped out, but it was almost like trying to get you to come out and then, okay, let me show you what I can do, know? And to me, that's what's kind of fascinating about it is just, the way everything lined up and the way you were able to see it and capture it, have the presence of mind to grab your camera. If you'd been just a little to the left, I just wonder how much more we would have seen,
Right. And that's what I think to myself too. I was like, I wonder what would have happened or what I would have captured if I would have took one more step out that door or, just anything. And I remember on the way home, he was like, man, Josh was telling me, he's like, I don't know how you actually stayed so still when you filmed that. He's like, man, he's like, I'm not easily scared. He's like, but if I would have seen that, he's like, I probably would have ran or probably threw the camera in the hallway. He's like, but you just kind of stood still and just watched this happen. I was like, what happened so quick? I didn't even realize really what had happened until after, like, I'm already screaming.
Yeah, right. So, and it's dark. I mean, people have to realize that it's dark when you're filming this. So it's not like you have spotlights on or a flashlight on or anything like that. So the fact that you reacted the way you did, and to Miranda's point, I mean, thank goodness you were in that position because you did capture some amazing things.
Right.
Yeah. And because the only light that we have there on that second floor, whenever all the lights are off like that, is the exit light, which casts a very creepy glow through there. I think that's one of the things that makes that floor so creepy. And I think it probably just set up perfect amount of light to be able to see that, because to be able to see that shadow flash there on the right hand side, as well as having that, arm to be captured. I mean, it's just, like I said, it's one of my favorite captures, not just here at the jail, but period. So, great job on you guys for being able to capture that. And, and I do have to say, I mean, I really enjoyed your investigation style because you guys came in and honestly, you kept it simple. I know you used a couple of our tools and that was a great experiment to see, to kind of validate some of the things that we've been catching on the Ovilus and the EDI box. But the fact that you guys just kind of come in real simple and with your cameras and really using yourself as tools, great investigating.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and like I said, it's one of those things where I think the jail that night was really responding to, the fact that you were using correctional terms, that it's like, hey, yeah, we're going to show you something.
Right.
The fact that you're a small group, and that you really are a respectful team, right? You come in and it's not about, showing off or anything like that. You're legitimately trying to find answers. And I think the jail here, our spirits really respond to that that mentality, right? They want to say, okay, we're here. We want to give you some answers. We want to show you that we're here. And I think the way that you guys present yourself really allowed them to kind of speak out that night.
Right. And I remember we started our night out, I think on the 3rd floor, and we had some cigarettes, and I think you gave me like a little bottle of whiskey. And we used that as a trigger object. We was like, hey guys, we snuck this in for you. We're going to sit it right here. And we had it sitting beside an EMF detector, and that EMF detector lit up a few times, like somebody was reaching out like, hey, I'm going to take a shot of this, or I'm going to give me a smoke. And so that night was the first time we really like incorporated like trigger objects. And so now since then, pretty much everywhere we go, we try to think of something to bring, whether it's handcuffs if we're going to a jail, or a pack of cigarettes if we're going to a bar, or wherever. We try to bring something to kind of help a little bit. So
and I think you need that. I think it does. It shows that sense of familiarity to the spirits. Obviously moonshine was huge here, so they understand alcohol, they understand liquor.
Right.
Cigarettes, of course, in a jail. So it's just kind of one of those things and that's the same thing with music, right? Music just bridges the time gap. We can hear a piece of music from the 1900s, and it sounds the exact same as it does now, as it did then. So I think that really kind of bridges the familial gap, and that allows them to really connect.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something that's kind of interesting. So, when we give tours to a lot of the teams, they'll be carrying, their EMF detectors and getting baselines and everything. And when we do our flashlight tours, we also give people a K2 to carry around. And so when we go to tell certain stories, you'll get spikes in the EMF detectors and the K2s. Almost every time we tell the story up there in the cafeteria or in the kitchen, it's really quite funny, because it's almost like they're laughing at us, or like they're saying, yeah, I did that. You're sharing our story. And it's like every single time the K2s will spike up when we talk about the help, and they'll spike up when we talk about the picture coming off the wall. And almost like clockwork, they'll start spiking up when we start talking about that. So it's really pretty fascinating.
It is.
Yeah. So what other investigations are you got coming up?
At the moment, we don't have anything booked. We're looking at a few different places. We're thinking about going back up to Octagon Hall sometime this summer. That was our first, after Brushy, that was one of our first real active locations. There again, we didn't really have a lot of equipment then either, so it was all more hearsay than anything else. But we was able to capture a little bit of stuff. But there's a place locally in Dixon we've been trying to get into for the past 2 years. I think hopefully we might got them to where they're going to let us come in there. Then, like I said, there's a ton of places we want to go. We're just trying to get it all lined up. And like I said, our one teammate, Mark, he lives in North Carolina, so he don't get to go very often. So we try to at least plan 1 or 2 that he can come to. So hopefully we'll have something going here before too long.
Nice.
Oh, very cool.
And so where can folks, if they want to watch some of your videos or follow along, do you all do lives and stuff whenever you're doing your investigations, or do you all put stuff out after the fact?
We've went live a couple of times. I honestly don't ever think about doing it whenever we're in the moment. I'm just more focused on what we're doing than actually going live. But we have a couple of times. We're trying to make our YouTube our main focus of all of our evidence, and then just kind of promoting everything through the rest of our social media, like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, stuff like that. But we're trying to make our YouTube our main focus, is pretty much put all of our evidence there, and then just kind of promote and everything else through the rest of our sites.
Okay, and that YouTube channel is so that folks can go and watch some of your stuff.
That's just RKB Paranormal.
Perfect. And
that's
guys,
what it
gotta
is.
definitely go check it out.
That's what it is on all of it. So
Very cool.
Okay.
So we got to get you back here, though. You said your mom might be joining you next time.
she's been saying she wants to go. So I told her, I was like, as soon as you want to go, it's like, let me know. I'll get it lined up. So, and maybe we can talk my grandmother into coming. I don't know, but I know my wife really wants to go because since she missed out last time, and we want to try to get Mark out there since he didn't get to come. So we're hoping it probably won't be just two of us this time, but we're hoping it'll at least be enough happening and kind of spook my mom a little bit. So,
well, if it's been like it's been in the, I mean, honestly, there's just the days are active, the nights are active. It's just you never know when it's going to hit. But lately, it's been pretty interesting here.
Yeah. We've had stuff while we've been doing our podcast. I know I've done a couple podcasts out here, and we've had people have seen stuff walk behind me. We hear doors slam all the time. We had Ranger Banks on 3 weeks ago, and we're sitting in here. It was actually a live jail interview, and so we sat down to do the interview, and we start hearing noises upstairs on the second floor. And he's like, "Who else is here?" And we're like, "Nobody, just us." Right. So all the time. I mean, there's times it can be a little quiet, but there's times. I mean, you think it's a house full of people,
right?
Yep. So,
like I said, it was definitely an active night for us, even though we didn't capture a ton on video or audio. But it was still very, very active place.
Yeah. Well, again, like I said, just that one clip, there's so much inside of it that any one of that standing alone would have been fascinating.
Right.
But just to have it and to be able to, share that again, like Miranda said, we're 2 or 3 times a day we show that video to guests that come in or anybody that wants to see it. So thank you for allowing us to share it.
Of course. And I remember on the way up there, been doing the team about a year and a half. I was like, man, we're still missing one really good piece of evidence, whether it's a really good audio clip or video. I was like, we're missing that one good clip. I was like, we'll get stuff here and there, but it's nothing where people were just like, whoa, what just happened? And then that night, I was like, man, we finally got it. Now we're to the point where we want this to happen every night, but we know it's not like that. Like the last place we went, just a couple of weeks ago, it was fairly active the beginning of the night, but then after about 2.5 hours, it just completely died. And so, and that's what I try to explain to a lot of people. They're like, does this happen? I was like, it does not happen constantly. I was like, we've been to a couple of places where we got absolutely nothing, and we're in there for 7, 8, 9 hours and nothing happens.
Right.
And so I think that's where like a lot of skepticism comes in. It's like, well, how can you go to a haunted place and have nothing happen? I was like, well, it doesn't happen on cue all the time. And so,
yeah, and you're right. That's the same thing that we have to go through when somebody says, well, I walked through there like a guest. Well, I walked through and I didn't feel anything. Well, they may not be active right now, or they may
not want to talk to you.
Yeah, they may not want to talk to you. Maybe you're getting off the stay away from me vibe.
Yeah, it's and that's the thing. I mean, it's kind of a struggle, when especially with our guided ghost hunts or even teams that come in. Most of the teams are seasoned teams, and they understand that just because it's a quiet night doesn't mean it doesn't mean they didn't get something. Go over the evidence because you may have found something you didn't realize, but also they understand that just because you go through it one time and there's nothing, it doesn't mean it's not haunted. It may be many different reasons why they're not being active that night. So it kind of spoils you when that happens.
Yeah. It does. It really does. And, to Miranda's point, it's like one of those things where you do have to be diligent. You've got to watch your audio. You've got to listen to all the video we got to listen to the video and watch all the audio that you captured because you never know. You saw when that video was going full steam, you saw how quick that arm flashed out. It wasn't until we slowed it down that you actually see it. And so you've got to be diligent and kind of look through all of that with that kind of that seasoned eye. We had an investigator here, a good friend of ours, Vicki Norris. She just happened to take her voice recorder into the bathroom with her and didn't turn it off. And thank goodness she didn't, because she captured a really cool EVP while she was in there. So you just never know. You just got to listen to it and watch it all.
Yeah.
So, but we do appreciate you. Go ahead.
I was going to say that's always like the most draining part is going through all the evidence too.
Oh yeah.
So, like I said, we did that one a couple weeks ago, and I still have one recorder I haven't made it through. It's just between work and everything else. Sometimes it just takes a while, but we did capture a couple good EVPs that night, and we had some good REM pod activity that night too. So,
very cool.
Yeah. And speaking of REM pod, we had a lot of REM pod activity in the drunk tank that night. We were there. So,
well, that's right.
That's
right.
right.
I remember y'all telling us about that. And again, the audio, listening to the audio, nobody understands except paranormal investigators how tedious that is. Because you just hit play and you're listening to however many hours you were there investigating. So it does take time, but I think those seasoned investigators know that it's worth it, because just capturing a help or a hello or something that you didn't hear in the moment it's thrilling.
Yeah,
right?
and usually that kind of motivates you to continue going through the rest of your evidence when you capture that. And I mean, for those people, whenever they go to investigation and they have like 500 things that they captured, I mean, that's great, but that's kind of rare, I mean, to get 1 to 2 to 5, just really cool, compelling captures. I mean, that's a good night.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm perfectly happy just getting one really good EVP throughout the night. So
yeah, absolutely.
As long as it's good and audible, and it's like, hey, I was like, that was legit. I was like, I can tell exactly what they're saying. So
yeah, and that's like the footsteps last night. I mean, none of us had recorders on, and it's like, man, if we had those recorders or had body cam or something like that going, that's great, but sometimes it might not happen when you have it. Maybe it's meant to be more of just a personal experience.
Right.
Yeah, and those are just as valid. Absolutely. So, because I mean, last night you and both investigators were experiencing the same thing.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
So.
But Damian, thank you so much for coming on and speaking with us and telling your story and sharing your story with us.
Yeah.
And thank you all for having me on.
Absolutely. And thank you all in the chat room for your questions, your comments, and for spending your evening with us. Definitely go on and check out RKB Paranormal. They're trying to grow their YouTube channel. So go on, like and subscribe and hit the bell so that you can get the notifications whenever they put new stuff up, and show them some support, because they do really good things as far as showing locations, a lot of support as well.
Yep.
Like I said, y'all probably become one of my favorite places, and I've only been there once. So.
Oh, we appreciate you sporting the T-shirt there.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, of course,
Absolutely, helping us get that word out that we're open.
Oh yeah.
So we're going to go ahead. We're going to pull you out for a few minutes and kind of wrap things up. But if you got a few minutes, stick around, and we'll talk to you for a few minutes after the show.
All right, sounds good.
All right. Thanks, Damian. All right. And so again, thank you all so much for spending your evening with us. We got a few more weeks left on the paranormal research study. I know we've got, I think for the most part, Saturdays are booked up, right?
Yeah, Saturdays are booked up.
We have a few, I think maybe 2 Fridays and a Sunday or 2.
One Friday and 2 Sundays.
Okay. I was backwards. 1 Friday and 2 Sundays. If you want to get in on our research study, we also have where you can book 1-hour slots. If you are a medium, or if you are a solo investigator, and you would like to, to kind of take a stab at our research study, we are trying to wrap that up. So if you want to get in on that, you've got just a couple opportunities left, and then we'll be getting with the detective, and
we'll be getting some answers. Everybody who wants to know what's in the container, you'll have answers in about 3 weeks. So
we'll know.
We'll know, but we'll get you answers as soon as we know.
Yeah, we're figuring out exactly how we're going to release that information. So we're trying to, because there's a lot of information we're trying to gather, not just the items in the container, but also what the crime was, who the people were involved in it. So there's a lot of things we can find out about this that we're really looking forward to sharing. So looks like Lisa says that she and her husband are coming out the first week of July. As far as buying tickets, if you're talking about buying tickets to just the general daytime tours, those we sell at the door. So, you
flashlight
can-
tours and ghost hunts, we have those up online, so you can buy those. And as far in advance as we have them up, and then paranormal investigations, we need 3 nights before the date. So we
Yeah.
need a 3-day notice on that.
Yeah, if you have a date and we don't have, and we're talking about the ghost hunt or the flashlight tours, if there's not a date on our site up there yet, you can call us and we can go ahead and get that on the calendar if that's what you're looking for. So,
Yeah. Or message us on the Facebook page and we can get you all set up. But thank you, Lisa. We're looking forward to meeting you.
yeah, absolutely. And thank you for being a constant watcher of the show. We definitely appreciate you guys. So I think, let's see, I think that's about it.
Yeah, thank you guys. It's just been a very busy weekend. We really appreciate you coming on with us. Again, please come out to the Harold Young Memorial Scholarship Ride on Saturday. It's going to be a lot of fun, and it's for a great cause. So come out and join us, and we'll see you here next Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.